right here is might be the coolest part of this whole thing, and you wouldn't think it would be, but this is just a circuit board with potting in it. All right, guys, ask and you shall receive. This right here is by far the most requested product for me to do a technical design review of. If you are new to the channel, you're probably asking, who the hell are you? What is a technical design review? And why did I click on this video in the first place? Well, respectively, I'm some dude on YouTube who also happens to be a professional product design engineer. A design review is a super geeky product evaluation from an engineering perspective. And you clicked on this video because my thumbnail pic probably looked more fun than going to bed like you should. Any questions so far? Plop them down in the comments section below, and let's dive into this official design review of the Milwaukee M18 Fuel Surge Impact Driver and see if we can figure out why Milwaukee is synonymous with professional grade. All right, so first off, disclaimer, I bought this with my own money at full retail price and have had no contact with anyone associated with the Milwaukee brand. And speaking of price, that's how much I paid. All right, so first, specs claimed on the box. So there's that. If you wanted to see, there's the model number, whatever that means, whatever that means, whatever that means. All right, there are the specs without glare right there. Pause screen if you want to see more, and pause screen if you want to take a look at that in more detail. All right, let's get to it. So first off, from the outside, nothing too crazy to write home about. Finish is not anything stellar. I mean, it doesn't look cheap, but it doesn't look amazing either. I gotta say, I'm not feeling this rubber here. This overmolded by injection part, like all other drivers, drills, or impact drivers are. Hard plastic with TPE rubber overmolded over it, and you know, I gotta say, it's a little bit oily. It's not, you know, this is an old rigid, and this is very dry and grippy. And I'm, you know, I'd have to. It's not, you know, it's not cheap. It doesn't feel cheap. It's just not quite as good as I was expecting from, you know, the standard for professional grade. So take that for what it's worth. Moving on. So the finish is, I mean, the tool finish, you can tell they did a matte, you know, maybe a D3 finish on this. Nothing stellar. It just, I mean, it's Milwaukee. They don't really have to try that hard because everybody knows they're good quality already. So maybe that's it. They're just being plain because they got the name. So the thing, so there's two things that make this kind of unique, aside from just the fact that it's Milwaukee quality. So this new line has a really low profile battery with roughly the same specs of other impact drivers, and so that lets you get into tight spaces. So this is an 18 volt that really has the battery footprint of a 12 volt. So that's what a lot of people like about it. The other thing that a lot of people like about it is how quiet it is, and we'll get into that more. That is because this is a hydraulic impact driver. Hydraulic, as opposed to metal on metal. It goes to metal on fluid to metal, kind of like a torque converter in an automatic transmission in every car since, you know, the 1930s or 40s, basically. So it's like it transfers the impact through a hydraulic fluid first, and that really reduces the noise, according to people who have used it. So that's some of the things that make this particular model unique among impact drivers. All right, not a whole lot else I can tell. That feels quality. That doesn't feel cheap at all. Yeah, let's get into it. All right, now we're into some of the good stuff. All right, so first start out on just the simple injection molded piece. I'm seeing a ton of detail in here, a ton of extra effort that went into making this as stiff and as rigid of a part as it could be. Those ribs right there, basically everywhere there's not components, looks like, you know, they probably could have fit some right there. I think the rigid actually did have some shallow ribbing in there, just trying to extract every ounce they can. This is, if it's like every other impact driver, it is, yep, glass filled nylon 6, which is pretty much the go-to. It's a colorable, stiff, more aesthetically pleasing glass filled nylon than your traditional nylon 6.6. So that's why they go with 6. It's just a slightly different polymer with Seb's rubber overmolded. And again, I mean, it all depends on the quality and the execution. Just about every impact driver has Seb's is the compound, the overmolded polymer, and this one just doesn't feel quite as grippy and quality as some of the others. So it just goes to show you, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does, but it's not the end of the story if it's just the same material. It's about the execution, and maybe the finish that they apply to the tool of the part that makes the rubber. So not sure why it feels different, but it definitely does. Now here's something that is definitely better quality than I've seen anywhere else. The size of these undercuts is, let's see if I can get it to focus on that. All right, yeah. So those are much more substantial undercut. That's actually a T-slot. And right there, let's see. Anyway, I mean, oh wow, that's an opposite. Instead of the male or the positive engagement being on the rubber, they put the positive engagement on the plastic there. So look at all those places that they went to. Pretty detailed effort to get as much engagement on this rubber as they can, because it's flexible, and so under wear and tear you don't want it to peel off. And that's definitely the best I've seen of any of them that I've taken apart. So some nice motor isolators right here. It's probably just silicone rod or rubber, solid rubber extrusion that gets put into there just to add some more comfort. This is another thing that is unique. I haven't seen anywhere else on any other product. You see those right there? Those are trigger isolators. So there's like a path from the impact right to your finger. There's nothing but hard plastic, and this trigger is hard plastic. So they actually went to the effort to put rubber isolator mounts just to get a little bit less vibration to come through this trigger, which is that's just shows going above and beyond. why Milwaukee is Milwaukee. They didn't have to do that, but it cost them basically nothing. They're already injection molding this rubber onto this piece for comfort and grippy grip purposes. So just having a hole in here to let that rubber come through, they're already having it come through a bunch of other places for retainment. Those are like rivet style features. So why not just have it come through an extra couple of places and give the user a little bit more comfort and a little bit less vibration coming through on their finger. That's pretty cool. All right, so moving on from the raw part design to more of the assembly planning and the design for assembly. Right here is might be the coolest part of this whole thing, and you wouldn't think it would be, but this is just a circuit board with potting in it. But remember, one of the things that set this product apart and makes it liked by so many people, aside from the quality, is the small battery footprint. That small footprint lets you get it into tighter spaces. And the reason that other products aren't that small is because they put the drive circuitry, they put it right here. And drive circuitry takes a lot of surface area. You have to have plenty of surface area for cooling because of all that energy being transferred from the battery to the motor, and the FETs and fuses and processors and whatnot. It takes up a lot of space. So they went to the expense of having a total of 3 circuit boards in here. So on other brands, they made the circuit board that does the lights and the modes. They made that be the same circuit board that has all of the powerful energy transfer components on it. But here, there's a circuit board inside of this very well done bowl that's no doubt is form fitted to the shape of that bowl, and they form fitted the bowl and the potting container, the potting vessel, and the circuit board. They form fitted it to the shape of the grip, and so that is very well done conceptual design for assembly. It's not just taking component A and figuring out how to incorporate it into component B, how to put it inside. They designed it as a whole. They designed it holistically. So the shape of this circuit board is the comfort for the user dictated the shape of the hand, which in turn dictated the shape of the potting bowl, which in turn dictated the shape of the circuit board that's inside of there. And so that takes top down, well done, well managed engineering and planning to execute something as simple as that, because you got to work with the PCB designers, electrical engineers, to make sure that shape of a circuit board can be manufactured. And I mean, it could be just a square circuit board in there, but they'd be able to get more surface area out of it if they did contour the shape, and also it makes assembly easier because it just kind of holds itself in there. So I'm guessing that's a custom size, custom profile circuit board that's inside there. Just like this is a custom cut circuit board that's has the sensor software for the motor. So I think that's pretty unique. Definitely something that sets them apart from others that I've seen. So there's 1, 2, 3 modes, probably automatic. Power levels just like the rigid was, and you change it by hitting that very nice textured button right there. All right, moving on to the motor. So now this one, if you look back at the rigid, you notice that the fan or the rotor, the piece that spins, was attached to the outside. That's called an outer rotor, or some call it an outrigger design. and it has its pros and cons, but really they're both brushless motors, so they both have significant power density. But one thing that this is really surprising, because this is motor components. They need to be very precise, because the distances between the magnets inside of there, I mean, they need to be plus or minus just very, like, thousandths of an inch, in order for the motor to have the efficiency that it needs. And so normally, like, if I saw this on a cheap brand, I would say that this was a very bad idea to make this out of plastic. These sensitive, tolerant, dimensionally sensitive components, to make that out of plastic. But this is Milwaukee, so they probably know something that I don't, and they probably have they've gone to the extra effort of developing the expertise necessary to be able to make this out of plastic. And then they save money. They had to put in more design work and more development and trial and error to make this out of plastic. But then once they do, they get to reap the benefits of that being a cheaper part than if it was made out of metal. And so let's see if there's any clues to how because I would not expect that to just be your traditional glass-filled nylon. And okay, so it is glass-filled. It's 6.6, which makes sense. It's not an aesthetic part. It just needs to do its job and be rigid. But let's see if I can get that to focus right there. Can you see that? It says 50% glass-filled. So so that polymer, that part, those red parts right there, the stator, the outer stator, that is 50% glass, which basically is like fiberglass. I mean, your typical like epoxy resin fiberglass is anywhere between 60 and 80%. So this is pushing the limits of like being plastic and being more glass than plastic. And of course, the benefit to glass is it is insanely rigid. It's insanely dimensionally stable, and so that's what you need out of that part. You need rigidity and you need dimensional stability. You need it to keep its shape for years to come. And so they succeeded in making this an injection molded part by upping the glass content inside of this polymer. If I was doing this from scratch, I would not want to bite off that risk. I would not want to go into that take that development time to do a trial and error of making an injection molded part that needs to be so dimensionally specific and tight tolerances. But they did it, and obviously the proof is in the pudding, because everybody knows that Milwaukee's last, and they're considered professional grade. So just very interesting that they went to that effort. So yeah, there's the part that spins is the inner part, as opposed to the rigid, which the outer part spun. So, one thing I forgot to mention about the aesthetic. So this part comes off just like many's do, but it's actually retained by the hard plastic parts, which most of them are not. So that's a little bit extra durability. And one thing that makes this different is it's transparent, slightly transparent. It's like a charcoal transparency, and that just increases the expense. Getting a thermoplastic, an elastomer, to be transparent, it just means the compound is a little bit more expensive. So that's some extra expense they went to right there to give it kind of a cool look. Maybe some expense that they spared on making the plastic look all fancy. So, all right, so let's get the business end out of this thing and see. All right, so that's not a giant looking gear right there. I forget which brand it was. I think it was the Bosch. The Bosch just had a son of a gun worth of a gear right there. I mean, it was easily 50% bigger diameter than this. But again, kind of reverse engineering this, because we already know that Milwaukee is quality. So how could that be quality being that small? And the key is in the metallurgy and the tempering and just the quality of the manufacturing that went into making the rod stock, and went into making those gear teeth and the shape of that gear. It's obviously going to be a durable gear, even though it's smaller. And just like with this plastic stator, instead of going the easy route, they kept it small for whatever reason. Maybe that in the end, if they put in the engineering into the metallurgy and into the manufacturing process to make that a durable, tough part, maybe it ended up working out less expensive for them in the long run, because it was, it's less metal, or maybe, it saves some weight. So they were willing to pay more for a better, more quality metallurgy in order to just save weight on the entire unit. So don't know, but that is definitely on the small side. So this is where the most fun is happening. And either look for a link, or I might put a clip in right here showing all the nice juicy details of what's inside of here, because they kind of make it hard to get into, from what I understand. So I'm not gonna try and get into the very guts of this, but I think I can get into those gears to see those a little better. So I will do that. Something else you haven't seen before is a clip ring holding this on. That's just a beefy retainer style that you normally see in more heavy duty stuff. So just food for thought. Okay, so a very quality looking piece. I mean, this is metal, for sure, metal. And just the machining that went into this and the buffing to get it to look like it does is just really cool. You see the combination of finishes on there. So like as cast finish, and then black painted, indented, and then buffed on the outside, and then buffed on the outside with the lower plateau being as cast. It really makes a nice contrast that I haven't seen any other brands doing that either. So really good post machining in there. Yeah, that's as cast. So as they cut into that, it cuts through there. Yeah. All right. So now this bad boy. So oh, okay. Oh, all right. So those are some beefy gears. Again, go back, look at the other reviews I've done. Those are pretty stout. Those are thick, just hefty gears. This is I don't know if I've ever gotten to this point where you can actually see the ring gear. So sun gear, because it's in the middle. Planet gears, because they rotate around the sun gear. And then ring gear, because it's shaped like a ring, if you couldn't figure that out. All right, in conclusion, nothing short of what you would expect from Milwaukee. Well designed, well executed, well planned. A bunch of interdisciplinary engineering cooperation went into making this product turn out as well as it did, and wouldn't expect anything less from Milwaukee, and I wasn't disappointed. So 2 thumbs up from me. If you like this video, guys, please give me a like. If you really liked it, give me a subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you're notified when I post more reviews like this. If you didn't like it, let me know why down below. If you had a question that maybe I didn't answer during the course of this design review, shoot that in the comments down below, as well as any ideas for products that you might be interested in seeing torn apart in this manner. All right, I will see you guys next time.